Leicester City are back home on Filbert Way. The Foxes face Bristol City this afternoon, chasing a 7th league win of the new campaign already. A chill in the air on this Saturday afternoon. To his left foot, back onto his right, penalty kick. Ricardo with a lovely ball, and the fleet-footed Wilfred Ndidi's at it again. You know who is taking it. Hasn't scored a home goal in the Championship for more than a decade, Jamie Vardy. A couple of steps, and he scores! What a penalty! High into the roof of the net. His first home goal of the season. Deadlock broken.
Yes, hello and welcome along to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub. Leicester City making it 7 wins out of 8 in the league with that 1-0 win over Bristol City at the weekend, of course. It's a different competition tonight, a competition in which Leicester have won their opening 2 games, of course, but tonight it's the formidable task of facing Liverpool at Anfield, the side that knocked them out on their way to winning this competition a couple of seasons ago. We're an hour away from kickoff. That means team news is hot off the press. We'll do that before we introduce our guests this evening. Enzo Maresca, firstly from a Leicester City point of view, has made 10 changes to that side that beat Bristol City at the weekend. It's easier to name the man who remains in the 11, and that is Ricardo. The rest are either on the bench or not in the squad altogether. One of those, of course, is Callum Doyle, who Enzo yesterday confirmed will be out for a long time. Here is the 11 then in full. It's Stolarczyk in goal, James Justin, Coady, Sutar, Ricardo across the back four, with Choudhury, Yunus and Cassidy in midfield, and McAteer and Mark Albrighton are either side of Kelechi Iheanacho. On the bench, it's Hermansen, Fass, Winks, Mavididi, Basaru, Daka, Drewford Hall, Vestergaard and Wilfred Ndidi. From a Liverpool point of view, they knocked the Foxes out of this competition, as I said a couple of seasons ago. Jurgen Klopp makes 10 changes to the side that beat West Ham at Anfield in the Premier League on Sunday. Curtis Jones, he is the only survivor from that win, so here is their 11 then in full. It's Quaveen Kelleher in goal, Tsimikas, Kwanzaa, Kanate, and we think Curtis Jones will be playing the hybrid right back into midfield role. Endo, Gravenberch and Elliott are the midfielders, with Jota and Doak either side of Coady Gakpo. Their substitutes is Adrian, Van Dijk, Diaz, Soboslai, Nunes, McAllister, Matip, Bajcetic and Chambers. So a very strong bench there for Liverpool. Let's introduce our guest then this evening. We've got Matty Fryatt with us, but our special guest is Willie Kirk, the LCFC women manager ahead of the first game of the season in the WSL. Good evening to you. Thank you very much for coming along. And how are we feeling ahead of that game? Nervous, excited to the start of a brand new season, of course?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think it's always the same going into the first game of the season. There's that excitement, you know, aligned with some nerves. You know, everybody's hopes and dreams are the same at the start of the season. We all start off in the same place, which is nice for a manager that's come in halfway through a season to get a pre-season under their belt and start on 0 points, the same as everybody else.
Must be like, is it a kid at Christmas, Matty, just before the start of a new season? Do you remember those days when you were playing?
A long time ago, yeah. No, there's always excitement. Obviously, every player's itching to start the first game and get off to a good start. And for yourself, Willie, extra incentive going to a former club and wanting to do a number over them. Obviously, don't know if it plays much of an advantage, but seeing them firsthand in a pre-season game as well.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we lost that game, and I think in hindsight that will be a good thing. You know, we certainly won't take them lightly. Newly promoted team, you know, they'll certainly be up for it. A home crowd, I'm sure they'll get a good crowd at Ashton Gate. It's a fantastic venue, so I've certainly impressed that upon our players that it's a pitch that they'll enjoy playing at, and yeah, we're hoping to obviously get off to a really positive start.
Obviously, it is a newly promoted side that you're facing first. Were you happy with that when you saw it, or is that quite a dangerous team to play, do you think, right at the start of a season?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a winnable game for us as far as I'm concerned, and you know, if you take the top 4 out of the league, I think every game becomes a winnable game. So from that point of view, we were quite happy. We then follow up with a home game, you know, against Everton, which I feel is another winnable game. So yeah, I think in terms of starts go, you know, it could have been a lot worse. So obviously they will be really enthusiastic, bundles energy. You know, it's probably the first time for a while that we've gone to the game being favourites, you know, based on last season. So that's a different mindset that the players need to adopt as well.
Quite a busy October, isn't it, really? Five games there in the space of 3 weeks, and a chance, though, to pick up points at the start of the season, as you've rightly been referencing yourself. Yeah,
definitely. You know, you go 4 months between seasons because of the Women's World Cup. So to have 5 games in the first 3 weeks is really good. You know, everybody will be on that pitch, I'm sure, at some point. You know, we've recruited a lot of players, and a lot of players will be making debuts and be looking to get as many minutes under their belt as possible in that first batch of games.
Yeah, were you a fan of pre-season, Matty, when you were a player, or were you just literally counting down to that first competitive game? Because it has, as Willie said, it's been a long pre-season now because of the World Cup.
Yeah, it can work both ways. Sometimes you want to get off to a really positive start in pre-season to set you up for the season. Other times where I've missed the start pre-season and then come back in for the last game before the starting fixture. It depends. It depends on state of mind of how you are as a player. Some players need quite a few games, others can just come in straight away. It sort of depends on the player more so than anything, but I think all the players will be itching, ready to go for that first game and wanting to start. There's not many times you get to start the first game of the season. I know there's an emphasis on that game, but it is a long season as well. You can already see 5 games coming up in quick succession. But you're looking at those 2 opening fixtures and thinking that's a possibility of looking at points where you'd assess them and think they could be the ones where you sort of pinpoint, and then looking on in terms of later in the month in November, there's some tricky games, tough games, so you'd probably look at those thinking possibly maximum points are hoping to produce and be off to a good start.
Obviously, we know what happened at the start of last season, and you were very much playing catch-up, particularly when you came into the role as manager, of course. Were able to do that and stay in the division. So you'll be really hoping for a better start this time round, which is a fairly obvious thing to say.
Yeah, I think the last 2 seasons we've went the first 9 games without picking up any points. So we'll certainly be looking to start better than that, and I'm sure we will. And I think if we look at the second half of last season, you know, we picked up 16 points in 13 games from January onwards. So that's the sort of form that we want to take into this season, and that gives us hopes in terms of what we want to achieve this year, and we've taken a lot of belief from that, and we've obviously strengthened the squad with a number of additions, and yeah, it's that middle to top half of the table that we want to focus on. You know, we do not want to be staring at only teams above us. We want to be looking at teams below us, and then Yanni agreeing a fee with Bayern Munich was really big for us.
She was an unbelievable part, wasn't she, of what you were able to achieve in the second half of last season?
Yeah, I think without Yanni we wouldn't have done it. I think she gave the whole team belief, you know, from that debut that she had at King Power in the Brighton 3-0 game, and you know, she went on to have, I think it was 6 clean sheets, which was fantastic. She was one of the top performing goalkeepers in the league, and she just, the belief spread through the whole team after that. And to get her on a permanent deal from Bayern Munich was massive. There was a lot of interest in her, and I know that she knocked back certainly more financially lucrative contracts elsewhere, so it was a real coup for us in terms of what we're building and what we've got as an environment, and she wanted to be part of that. So
yeah, I guess that, Matty, must play and really prove the fact that there is a fantastic dressing room here at Leicester City, whether that's on the men's side, on the women's side, and reasons like that you're keeping really high profile players here and building a very strong squad.
100%. Obviously performing well last year, you know the group, you know what they're capable of, and you've enjoyed your time here, so why would you change things? Sometimes there might be offers elsewhere in terms of money incentives, but it might not be the right feel. And obviously performing well, being a mainstay and being the difference last year, feels as if it's home and wants to build on that, which is important. You want to be settled in your football, and there's a culture building not only with the men's team but the women's team and with the academy as well. So certainly to be part of it, and when the possibly other offers elsewhere, but when you have that feeling of you're at the right place, then it's good to get the deal done and then can look forward to the season and building further.
One thing you can even just see in these clips and the other clips that we've seen as well, they're obviously as a togetherness. Every goal, every single player rushes in, they all celebrate together. The celebrations when safety was confirmed last season were fantastic, and as Matty says, it just all lends into that idea that it's a really close-knit group.
Yeah, the togetherness is huge, and I think really big thing for us this year was making sure we added to that, added the right characters. We did a lot of groundwork in terms of the types of players we wanted to bring in, and from a on-pitch perspective in terms of the attributes that we wanted to add to the squad. But just as important as that was the types of characters, and we did a lot of background work in terms of character referencing, speaking to the players, getting them into Beaver Drive and sitting down and you know, asking some probably difficult questions that they've maybe never been asked before, but it was really important to us that we knew the person that we were bringing into the club.
Just finally, we had Sophie Howard on this very sofa a couple of, probably about a month or so ago for one of the Matchday Live guests. She was absolutely fantastic, by the way, and she'll be on a high going into Sunday because of what happened last night. For those that don't know, she's got a last-minute equaliser for her country, Scotland, so yeah, she'll be tip-top confidence, won't she?
Yeah, and obviously she gets bonus points for me scoring for Scotland, so that always helps. But yeah, she was in today. I seen her just before I came here. She had arrived from camp, and you know the fantastic thing, and it touches on the environment again and the atmosphere that we've got. Janice came in and Sophie Howard arrived together from that game last night. They still had their suitcases, but the first place they wanted to go to was the training ground. And they'd done the recovery. They met with a couple of the players and went for coffee, and I think that shows you the togetherness of the group, and players now go on international duty and are desperate to get back, and they're desperate for that start of the season. So
yeah, we'll continue previewing obviously this season and that game with Bristol City a little bit later on Matchday Live this evening. But let's turn our attention to tonight, of course. Hamza Choudhury is playing in midfield, of course. There is some breaking news. We'll hear from him in a moment. He signed a new deal today, Matty Fry, Hamza Choudhury. So really, really good to hear that.
Really good news. Obviously he knows the DNA of the club, graduated from academy player, progressed. And seen it in terms of had experience before. Last year went away for a loan experience and then come back in, and we know what Hamza's about. Tough in the tackle, always gives it all, never lets anybody down, and obviously Enzo's thrilled in terms of what he's seen from him in that way, and he's, as much as hasn't sort of been a mainstay within the team, obviously he's delivering around, not just on the pitch but off it as well, and he knows what the club's about, so it's really good that he's obviously extended his stay with the club and gets a chance this evening to show what he's about. We saw him the other week at Norwich performing in the right back role, and it looks as though tonight he's going to be in that defensive area, but obviously Enzo's seen things as well and wants him part of the future moving forward. But I think it's important that you have them core players that know what the club's about, and he's certainly one of those.
Yeah, Hamza Choudhury, of course, has Leicester City DNA, doesn't he? Running through him. Let's hear from the academy graduate himself, who spoke to Fox's Hub after signing that new deal.
There's definitely been ups and downs in my personal career, but no, like you say, I'm really enjoying it here, and the manager's obviously put quite a lot of faith and trust in me, and you want to be around that sort of environment. I think that's what Leicester's been about since I've been here, is about enjoying it.
Hamza, congratulations on the new deal. This one I'll take you to 20 years at Leicester City, from obviously, what was it, an 8-year-old when you first came?
Yeah, no, an amazing feeling for me and my family. This is my home. Obviously spent the majority of my life here and around the same people and the same environment. I'm just looking forward to cracking on now and hopefully helping the team get back to the Premier League.
Pretty amazing that over 20 years as an 8-year-old, an awful lot has changed at the club in that time.
Yeah, a lot. I think obviously from being at Beaver Drive to the facilities we're in now, the success that has come along the way. There's definitely been ups and downs in my personal career. But no, like you say, I'm really enjoying it here and I feel like there's a new challenge now and everyone's excited and I'm looking forward to getting started.
Do you never lose that excitement when you know there's more to come? So I don't know, when you first got your scholar deal or your first professional deal or a new contract, then this contract now?
Yeah, I think that's what football's about. I think that's what life's about. You challenge yourself. You get a new contract, you get promoted to the first team, you win trophies and whatnot. I think you've got to be able to push yourself personally to strive for more success, and you want to be around that sort of environment, and I feel like that's what we definitely got here at Leicester. Obviously last year was a big disappointment for the club, but like you say, it's another opportunity for us to go and be successful again and be a part of this great club's history.
And at the moment, things have been successful on the pitch. It must be a great dressing room to be part of at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what the manager first sort of said in his first meeting, that we've got to change the culture, make this a happy place again, and put smiles back on people's faces coming into work every day. I think that's what Leicester's been about since I've been here, is about enjoying it. I'm sure a lot of people say we're quite a close-knit group, and we're a lot like a family. So he put a lot of emphasis on bringing a smile back to people's faces, and I feel like it's definitely happened so far.
Yeah, do you feel that then amongst yourself and amongst the other lads?
Yeah, definitely. I obviously wasn't here for a large part of last year, but from what the lads told me, it's like chalk and cheese, really. It's nice, to be honest. The new lads that have come in, the new additions have been fantastic, but we've obviously still got the old heads like Vardy and Sharks and Coady and stuff still here, so it's so nice to sort of be in that culture again, and it's exciting. It's an exciting place to be.
It's not just new faces, is it? It's almost a completely new style of play. For you, a different role as well when you've been playing?
Yeah, a different role, something that I've enjoyed. The manager's very intense and very specific about what he wants from his players and how he wants his teams to play. But from day one, we've worked hard and we've put a lot of hours into it, and I feel like we're still not even 60% of the way. I feel like we've got so much more to show and give, and it's about learning and wanting to learn and adapting to his style of football.
That was Hamza Choudhury there speaking to Fox's Hub. You can watch that full interview, of course, available for free on the website. Great news that, really, isn't it? As Matty was alluding to himself, Hamza Choudhury signing that deal, he's very much, as I said, Leicester City coursing through his veins.
Yeah, he obviously loves the club, and you can see the reaction for the fans tonight when that news was broke, that everybody's got a lot of love for him, and I think having people at the club who as Matty says, know the DNA of the club, I think that's really important in terms of, we spoke about it a couple of times already tonight, the culture and the environment.
Let's take a quick reminder of tonight's team news. He's in there, Matty. 10 changes made by, well, both managers actually. In fact, both Enzo Maresca and Jurgen Klopp, only keeping one in from the weekend. Hamza Choudhury is in that midfield role. We heard in the interview there, he's done a bit of the hybrid role as well, but tonight we think it will just be, obviously, in the middle of that midfield.
Yeah, in terms of what he's used to, really, sort of that more. Obviously, it'll be important for him to get onto the ball, but more that destroyer, try and break up the play. Obviously, Liverpool can vary the game. They will look to go in behind, but at the same time, they'll go through the lines. Hamza's good at disrupting it, being firm in the tackle. So it's a chance to see him in that type of role, rather than when we've seen him early in the season, he's played at full-back in that hybrid position, which he will do, but he's more settled with that sort of defensive role in terms of getting it, keeping it simple, and then putting the tackles, trying to disrupt and then lend it off. It's just sometimes in terms of how Enzo wants to play, it's all short, draw the opposition in and then play through. As Hamza's, sometimes he's got a longer range of passes, but more he's better off winning it and then keeping it simple. If it does open up, yes, he can play it, but I think this season it'd be more about the discipline, drawing the opposition in, playing the short passes to then break through.
And he's got Yunus and Cassidy in front of him. We know obviously on the ball those two are very good with it. So do you agree with Matty? His job is to break things up in there, give it to those more advanced players.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at the job that Harry Winks does, I think Harry breaks things up very, very well. We probably know him more as a ball player, but he does a great job out of possession as well, and I'm intrigued to see how they approach the game tonight in terms of playing against such a level of opponent. That
was the one surprise, or the thing that you were most surprised about, wasn't it? Harry Winks not in the starting 11 tonight.
Yeah, he's made more changes than I expected, and I think the game's there to be won tonight in terms of the amount of changes that Liverpool have made. But yeah, as I say, I'm intrigued to see if they can implement the style of play against an opponent at this level.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Both teams will be playing the same style, won't they? The right back, we assume, or the left back, whoever it might be, will be stepping into midfield. Liverpool don't have a recognised right back, so it will be one of of those players, maybe Curtis Jones doing the hybrid role, to see, presumably there'll be a lot going on in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, you think there'll be a lot. Obviously, both teams want to play in that middle area. The onus is on Liverpool being the home team. But in recent games, they've started slow. Leicester in a really good place at the minute. So are Liverpool. We've got to add that. And obviously, the standard of where Liverpool are, it's sort of, you could maybe look at it from the pre-season. There might be a little bit of emphasis on that, but 10 changes. There's a lot of changes for the Norwich game as well, but it just shows the strength and depth in terms of both teams. Liverpool made a lot of changes, Leicester the same. Now people come in. Good to see Coady back in, Harry Souttar alongside as well. So there's people who want to make the most of them opportunities that come the way. It's a level above, isn't it? Liverpool are a top class team. But it'll be interesting to see how both teams go about it. I wonder if Leicester are going to dictate it or try to play as what they have been against the calibre of Liverpool.
Well, we know, obviously, we'll talk about Coady, by the way, in just a moment, him making his first start, of course, for Leicester. But it'd be interesting to see where Leicester are at, and Enzo Maresca, I'm sure, will be thinking the same. 7 wins out of 8 in the Championship at the moment. Obviously, that's going according to plan. The plan is to go straight back up, just to see where they're at, really, in terms of Hamza Choudhury himself saying that they reckon they're only about 60% there in terms of knowing the style.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it, but they've won in different ways, haven't they, this season? So you saw, obviously, against Southampton, they just blew Southampton away. It's not going to be the same type of game as what that was. But then there was Norwich, there was the control, and then there's the total domination against Bristol in terms of start and finish, on and off the ball. But it'll be so important tonight, the stuff off the ball, because it's a level above. Sometimes in the Championship, you're not exploited sometimes by the mistakes that occur, but against the type of players you can go up against top international players, regardless if Liverpool have made changes or not, that they can punish you. So you've got to always be aware, and that responsibility on the ball as well. So you can't be loose, you can't afford to not sort of be loose in possession, but in terms of the risk, you've got to still be brave to take the ball, but you've got to take that extra bit of care, because teams like Liverpool can expose that mistake. But there'll be a lot in terms of the defence, being aware, being tight, and we've seen in the last 2 games that Leicester are more than capable of keeping clean sheets. And then if chances come the way, that is probably the one area where Liverpool, you can get at them in terms of defensively. They do concede, although being a top side, there is opportunities. Now if it comes Leicester's way, can they make the most of them and be clinical?
Yeah, let's hope that they can be. They were certainly clinical, or Jamie Vardy was certainly clinical, wasn't he? From the penalty spot on Saturday against Bristol City, as the Foxes made it 7 wins from 8 at the start of this season.
Here comes Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, and it's on the volley. Doyle swung a leg at it, comes back to the edge of the box, and what a strike that was from Fatawu. On the volley, whistles past the left-hand post, not by much. Winks, lovely crossfield pass to Abdul Fatawu. Fatawu onto the left foot, goes for goal. Brilliant strike, saved by Max O'Leary. My word, that packed a punch. Abdul Fatawu with 2 shots today. As Ndidi with a brilliant ball in, flicked on by Vardy, back to Dewsbury Hall. And his shot is deflected over the bar for a corner. That was a chance inside 60 seconds of the second half. These two have combined nicely today on the right, and Fatawu again, too good for his man. That's a good ball in, it's a free header, it's a wonderful save, and then Maverdini's follow-up, did that hit the arm? Well, Dewsbury Hall looked like he scored. Leicester with a golden chance to go 1-0 up. Here is Dewsbury Hall into Ndidi, he leaves it, Fatawu will pick it up. Right-hand side of the penalty area. 3 to aim for. Clipped cross towards Vardy, comes to Maverdini, another fine save from O'Leary, who flew out at him and saved it, I think, with his left foot. Maverdini looks to the sky, he can't believe it's not 1-0. And Ndidi's done just that, onto his left foot, back onto his right, penalty kick. Ricardo with a lovely ball, and the fleet-footed Wilfred Ndidi's at it again. Here goes Jamie Vardy, a couple of steps, and he scores. What a penalty! High into the roof of the net. His first home goal of the season. Deadlock broken. He runs over to celebrate in front of the Bristol City supporters. King Power Stadium loves that. It's Leicester 1, Bristol City 0. 1-0.
Well, that was certainly more vintage Vardy, wasn't it, against Bristol City. The penalty right in the top corner and then running the length of the pitch to celebrate in front of those Bristol City fans. We've seen that quite a few times down the years, haven't we, Willie?
Yeah, I was at the game on Saturday and, you know, I heard some of the stick he was getting from the Bristol fans, so it never surprised me when he celebrated in that way.
Great penalty as well, wasn't it? Made no mistake, did it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what game, what goalkeeper you're playing against, that's not coming back. It was a great finish, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, Wilfred Ndidi, he said himself, he was unbelievable, wasn't he?
Yeah, what a start to the season he's had. He's like a different player. I heard him speaking after the game on Saturday. He was talking about he's playing a lot higher up the pitch than he was previously, and he seems to be really enjoying it, and his performances are reflective of that.
I'm looking at him though, I don't know where these twinkle toes have come from. We saw it against Southampton, and there at the weekend he's twisting and turning. Yes, he's getting to higher positions, but the footwork, as normally he's used to receiving off the back foot and playing it simple, but he's in areas where you've got to have them sharp feet. Obviously in the final third is probably the quickest area of the pitch, and he's just bamboozled the centre back or the recovering defender. And the same against Southampton, sets it up for the penalty, and Jamie Vardy, absolute wind-up merchant. But you love to see it, but fantastic penalty. But Wilf getting into them positions as we saw at Southampton and continued it at the weekend, and he was excellent throughout.
There's a funny slow-mo of Jamie Vardy when he takes the penalties. He definitely breathes out. He's like a little jump once he's taken it. I don't think he maybe meant to put it quite as high as he did, but there was a certain sigh of relief when he saw it hit the back of the net.
Yeah, it looked a little high, but it was the perfect penalty. I think if you had multiple keepers in there, they weren't getting anywhere near that. It was such a good penalty, and don't you start on penalties, by the way, with me.
I wasn't going to bring it up this time. I wasn't going to bring it up. It kind of needed it a little bit, the game. Leicester had so many chances. We saw in just the 2-minute highlights reel just how many attempts on goal they had. The Bristol City keeper obviously played well, the defenders did, but they didn't really offer much, did they? The visiting side, Leicester, just needed to get that goal.
Yeah, and I think it shows you the mindset they've got just now. You know, they're happy, they're comfortable with the ball. They never looked like they were going to panic. They just kept playing the same way. They controlled it from start to finish. Obviously, we had it was a little bit of a hairy moment at the end when Bristol had that free kick, 25 yards out. But I thought they were outstanding in terms of their very strong mentality. Just we'll keep the ball. When we create chances, we'll make sure it's a good chance that we create. And yeah, they got exactly what they deserved with the penalty.
Again, you're just seeing that these highlights. Abdul Fattah on that right-hand side, Matty Fryatt was a constant thorn in the Bristol City side. He looks very, very exciting.
He looks really sharp, doesn't he? Exciting. Obviously, the fans get up on the feet when he's got the ball, and he's got that explosive touch. He just can burst away from an opponent. Obviously, he can create goals, score goals, and he was a threat, and he looks a really exciting player. And so difficult to mark as well from a standing still, and then you'd knock it past the player and he's just gone and lights up sort of the ground, and then he always looks sharp, dynamic, and looks like he's really taken to it. Apparently he didn't have much of a pre-season, sort of lacking in game fitness, so sort of using accordingly. But when changes have happened, so coming in at the weekend, he's gone and performed, and then there's again changes tonight, so it also shows the strength and depth within the squad. But there's players that are capable and go and perform as well as what he did at the weekend.
If he plays like that all season, he'll score a lot of goals. He'll create an awful lot of goals as well, won't he?
Yeah, and he's got so many tools in his box. He can beat players on the inside, on the outside. He can deliver driven crosses. He can hang them up to the back post. He can score goals. Coming in onto that left foot looks very handy. There was a good stop from the Bristol keeper in the first half. So yeah, he's a really exciting signing, and as Matty says, he gets the supporters on the ground excited, and that's what you want. You have people paying good money to come and watch, and they want entertained, and he's certainly an entertainer.
Moving to the other end of the pitch then, from a Leicester point of view, it just seems that every time one hand gives, the other takes away. Conor Coady makes his first start for the football club, but then the taking away is Callum Doyle at the weekend. Really bad news on Callum Doyle, of course. Enzo Maresca's words, he said he'll be out for a long time. Firstly, let's just address that. That'll be a big blow.
Yeah, it will. Not only for, obviously, the team, but also for himself. He's a young lad. Played a lot of games for for a young boy, but he's shown his qualities already in terms of he looks so mature for his age in terms of the way he plays. Really good left foot, settled in so well, as sort of a dependable, solid player. It's just a shame he's obviously picked up an injury and it's looks a little bit longer than anticipated, but again, someone gets injured and then you've got Coady coming back in at the same time, so again, showing that strength and depth, but obviously really disappointing news for Callum. He's come in and really impressed, and it's just unfortunate for him, but this is what's happened, and it's a squad game and there'll be someone else to step up. It's just disappointing for him, and obviously he's been playing near enough every minute up until that point when he came off at the weekend.
Yeah, Coady, another man we've had on this sofa as well this season as well, Willie, and he spoke about his frustration coming into a new club, picking up an injury. But now he makes his first start against the side where it all started for him, of course. Liverpool, it seems like a really shrewd signing, doesn't it, Coady, and he'll be a real leader in that dressing room.
Yeah, huge, and I can imagine he's already had a massive influence off the pitch. You know, I'm sure he'll be very excited to get on the pitch tonight, finally. But yeah, I'd imagine, you know, all I've ever heard is real positive stories about him. You know, the type of character he is. I think it was widely publicised about his time in the England squad. You know, Gareth put him in there for a number of reasons, and he was very rarely on the pitch, but he had such a influence on the changing room, and I'm sure he's helped Enzo a lot in that department in terms of that. So it'll be good to get him on the pitch, and yeah, it's unfortunate that Callum will be missing, but you know, huge experience to bring in to help replace that void.
Yeah, I think one thing that sums Coady up the most is that even during his injury, he was going to every single game. He was travelling with the squad to every game. A lot of players may not have done that. He made sure he was involved and at the heart of absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can be quite clever as a manager. You know, there'll be some players who are injured, and you know, obviously they don't travel, but there'll be some players that you recognise the influence that they can have, and you'll try and take them with you. You'll have them as part of the group, especially a new player who you can help settle in as well on those away trips. So yeah, as I say, I'm sure he's a massive influence in that changing room, and it'll be good to finally see him on the pitch tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Be exciting to see Coady making his full Leicester City debut this evening. You've just mentioned Enzo Maresca a couple of times there. He's been sitting down with the press, of course, this week ahead of the game with Liverpool. He sat down with them yesterday morning, and he was asked if the start to the season has gone better than he was expecting.
Last night, a big manager, a big friend said to me, Enzo, the more you win, the more close is the defeat. So the only thing I can say that we are doing quite well in terms of the way we are playing, in terms of the results. But in the same time, we cannot lose the focus on the reality that every game is difficult, and every game you can lose, draw, and win. But in the same time, after 10 games, to be honest, we are, as I just said, we are in the right position in terms of the way we are improving, and this is for me the most significant things that in this moment is important.
Looking ahead to Liverpool in particular, they look a very different side to the team you would have seen last year at Manchester City. What do you make of this current side under Jurgen Klopp with some of the new players they have as well?
Yeah, it's they have some new players, but in the same time, probably for transition and off the ball, probably the best team in the last 5, 6, 7 years in the world. So the way they work in transition, the way they work off the ball, probably has been for many years the best team in the world. So now, even if they have some new players, they just need time to adapt, and they go again.
How important a competition is this with all the championship games you kind of have to weigh up at the same time?
Well, it's an important competition for sure. The game is a good game against Liverpool away, Anfield, so it's a good environment. And in the same time, as you said, we have many games playing every 3 days. And after Liverpool, again, we go again for 3 games in 1 week and try to finish in the right way before the international break.
How much does a game against Liverpool
That was Enzo Maresca speaking ahead of this game with Liverpool, and really in general assessing the start to the season. Something you'll be hoping for a similarly good one, won't you, of course, kicking off against Bristol City on Sunday. But yeah, he'll be delighted with what he's seen so far.
What a start to the season. I think he only maybe had 4 or 5 weeks with the squad, and 2 of those weeks were in Thailand and Singapore, so I'm sure not ideal for a new manager in terms of you just want to get on the training ground as much as possible, and what he's done so far is fantastic, and you can see every single player has bought into it. The changes he's made tonight, it'll be really interesting against Liverpool, but I think having beaten Southampton 4-1 on the Friday and then to make 5 changes and you hardly see a drop in the performance is testament to the whole squad. They've bought into him. What he's trying to implement is clearly working. Again, you've seen the dominance on Saturday against Bristol, so yeah, fantastic start to the season, and long may it continue.
Yeah, ironically, mentioning the Thailand and Singapore trip, they played Liverpool, didn't they, over in Singapore? I think you covered the game here in for that one, was it? Am I right in thinking that?
No, I covered the Tottenham one.
Covered the Tottenham one that was called off.
Yeah.
Obviously, it ended in defeat, but for the first half an hour in the Liverpool game, particularly, they looked very good. So it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain that tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be sort of a different game as well, but in terms of mentally, will that play a part of it? In terms of a pre-season game into a cup competition, it might be slightly different, but depending how things go, you could look at it either of 2 ways. But again, it could be where Leicester are in terms of the start's been really good, so has Liverpool's. But is it going to be something playing on it because of how it's gone? Well, remains to be seen, but it could be if Leicester really go and show how they can play against. They won't face many teams where they're not the favourites. As tonight, it's on Liverpool, and if Leicester can go and perform and play their way, it'll be shown how far they've come. But they've won in different ways this season. It hasn't just been as much as Enzo Maresca's possession based and wants to play the right way in terms of building. There's been different performances we saw from the 3 games against Southampton, Norwich, and obviously at the weekend. So yeah, it could be one of them where they're at compared to pre-season, even though but we've seen Leicester play different ways and get positive results, and obviously the wins have spoken for themselves and done it in a different manner.
Do you assume that they'll still want to really be on the front foot and have the ball as much as they have? We know they probably won't have the majority of possession tonight like they've had in all the previous games.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be more on the back foot, but at the same time you like to go and see what they've done and sort of take the game to Liverpool. They've got nothing really to lose. The onus is on Liverpool if Leicester go and cause a so-called upset and take the game to Liverpool. It'll be interesting to see how they fare. They've obviously tried to bring a few younger players in. They did that last season, didn't quite work out. Yes, they're talented boys, but they've had to go and get players elsewhere to sort of go into their squad. McAllister being one, obviously Harvey Elliott comes in at times, but isn't enough for them to sort of establish themselves within the 11 Liverpool. So it'd be great to see Leicester go and take the game to Liverpool, but could be one of them, be patient and maybe play on the counter and use the wide players to get forward and play off Kelechi, but it remains to be seen. But I would love to see Leicester really take it to Liverpool and put it on them and sort of play it that way. And the main focus is obviously the league, and probably Liverpool looking at obviously that competition's been kind to them, but at the same time they might have priorities elsewhere.
Well, they play Saturday evening, huge game away at Spurs. Leicester don't play again till the Sunday. That could maybe be a little bit of a factor.
Yeah, I think the amount of changes, I don't think either manager will be thinking about the weekend now that they've named their team, but yeah, I think we're in a no-lose situation. If we go out, which probably the vast majority of people out there expect Liverpool to win, and why would you not? I don't think Enzo will be overly disappointed in terms of the Championship is a relentless season, a relentless fixture list, so it probably frees up a couple of midweeks. But then if you go and pull off a victory tonight, it'll be one of those famous victories. It will give the players that have come in a shot in the arm, and again just progress things probably even quicker than Enzo expected.
Big role for him tonight, Choudhury, Cassidy.
Yeah, it came in against Norwich, didn't quite sort of go his way that evening, but he want to impress like the rest of them coming in, and for the ones that have changed, they want to go as far as they can. Regardless if you're playing against better opposition, you want to keep on getting the minutes, whether it be in the league, whether it be in the cup. So you want to progress your season even more. I'm not saying that they're just cup players, but you want to go and show what you can do. He's another example of coming in, sort of, can he get further forward? Obviously on his debut went and got a goal, but can we see him sort of break forward and use this energy and support and get into them positions and make things happen? It's great. You see Casey McAteer there. What an opportunity, what an experience, going to play at Anfield, test himself against top players, see what he can produce. And like Willie was saying, if you can go and win, other teams will take note in terms of, yes, everyone's aware of what Leicester are producing in the Championship and thinking it's easy. It's far from easy. If they were to go and beat Liverpool tonight, everyone across the country would be sort of look at and think, what's going on at Leicester? They're really producing. I'm much more optimistic about the game tonight than I was last season. Yeah. So you can see in a short period of time how things have changed for the better, that is.
Well, that man on the screen there, Hamza Choudhury, has had a pretty good couple of days. He's just signed a new deal with Leicester City up until 2027. He's in the starting 11 at Anfield tonight, and earlier he spoke to our commentator John Dunn to preview the game.
Break from the league tonight, we're into the cup. We'll talk about the conditions in a minute. There still will be a desire to keep the run going and to win against the top 4 team.
100%. Like the manager said in the past, we set up to win every game, regardless of who we're playing and where we're playing. I think we'll play under the same circumstances and the way we want to play. So it's exciting, and hopefully we can progress on to the next round.
This is a fixture that has been played so many times over recent years. You know all about Liverpool. What do Leicester need to do tonight to try and get a positive result?
I'll be brave, believe in the way we're going to play. I know it can be a daunting place to come and play football, but it's, I guess at the end of the day, while we're all footballers, we want to play on the big stage, and tonight we have the opportunity to do that.
As we can see, there's a storm brewing. Do you think conditions might play a part tonight as well?
No, the pitch is always immaculate here. And
yeah, well, you can see why that interview was kept short. The conditions look absolutely awful, didn't they, a little bit earlier? I'm just seeing some live footage now from Anfield. It doesn't look as bad anymore. They'll be pleased to see. We're quite warm though here in the studio, aren't we? So it's not too bad for us. Let's get a quick recap of tonight's team news from both the Leicester City and the Liverpool point of view. Both managers make 10 changes. Ricardo, the only survivor from the weekend. The big team news headline, though, from a Leicester point of view, is a full debut, a first start in a competitive game for Conor Coady. This is the 11 then. It's Stolarczyk in goal, Justin, Coady, Sutar and Ricardo across the back four. Choudhury, Yunus and Cassidy in midfield, with McAteer and Albrighton flanking Kelechi Iheanacho. As I said, Jurgen Klopp himself has also made 10 changes to the team that beat West Ham at the weekend in the Premier League. We know that Curtis Jones is the only survivor for them. He starts, we think, at right back in that hybrid role. He's also the captain this evening. They've got Kelleher in goal, Tsimikas, Kwanzaa, Konate and Jones, Endo, Gravenberch and Elliott in midfield, with Jota and Doak either side of Coady. Gakpo still a very strong side despite making 10 changes, of course. We're building up now to kick off. We're about 15 minutes away, and the more we're talking about it, and you looked at the Leicester team before we came on air, and you thought that they've got a chance of getting a result here. It's amazing that they can make 10 changes and still look as strong as they do. Yeah,
I think so. I think the squad Enzo's put together is very, very strong in the Championship and would be strong in the Premier League as well. And it's going to be, really interesting to see. Despite Liverpool making changes, they obviously put a team out fully internationals as well. So it's going to be a really good test for all those changes that have been made.
Yeah, touched on it in terms of Sutar comes back in. He's an international as well. We haven't really, obviously he's on the fringes. Yannick's come in and been superb. He's really been one of them players who've sort of been out in the cold and come in and really adapted and taken on board what the new manager's offered, and he's gone and produced, which from last year you would never have thought that. And then Harry Sutar, who's bought in last January in terms of being a key player, an international player. Now it's his chance. Obviously Conor Coady, he'll be frustrated as well, as much as he's been along in getting an idea of the team and how Enzo wants the team to play. He'll also be frustrated that he's come in, got injured, and now it's his chance as well. So you're looking at both of them, take away from Liverpool, they're two international players that are itching to get in, and can't at the minute because of how well the players in front of them are performing, so they'll want to do well, but then obviously aware that the weekend there's another clean sheet and probably won't be in the team come the weekend, but they'll want to do as best they can and show what they're about.
Yeah, another one of those that maybe has been frustrated at the start of this season, but has a chance tonight. May, obviously, unfortunately, with the injury to Callum Doyle, may have a few more chances. Is James Justin in that left back, sort of left centre back role?
We're talking about a player of James Justin's quality in terms of he's been sort of on the fringes, coming in for a game and out, depending on how Enzo's gone with the team, and then finds himself with probably more of a chance to play. But he's more than capable, not just in the Championship, but obviously in the Premier League, and we know what he's about. Obviously, injuries has disrupted his time, but he's more than good enough, a top performer, more so in the right back position, but can perform at the left back role. But it just goes to show the depth within it, not only Championship, but the league above. So it just, obviously, opportunities for him as well, and he might mix it, but there you go, James Justin, a name to come in, and then obviously facing a challenge in Doak, who's quite a lively performer. So it'd be interesting to see that battle on that side of the pitch.
Yeah, and a little bit of a different role as well for James Justin. We know he loves to bomb forward, doesn't he? Whether he plays right back, left back. Potentially with the way Leicester play, that the left back seems to slot in a little bit more, although we have seen Callum Doyle go forward quite a bit.
Yeah, and it is almost like a sort of hybrid three at the back.
Yeah.
But even when he came on at the weekend, we've seen him getting forward, and as you say, Callum would get forward. So I think it's a really important role for the sides of the back three to still support underneath the ball and get forward and be an attacking outlet and be an outlet in terms of recycling the ball. So yeah, I think you'll see him get forward, and as Matty says, it'll be really interesting to see if Ben Doak plays on that side. It'll be a really interesting battle between two young talented players.
That is the voice of Willie Kirk, the LCFC women manager, who's been with us on Matchday Live and will stay with us for our post-match analysis as well. We'll speak to him a little bit more about the LCFC women opener at the weekend. But we are just over 10 minutes away from kick-off at Anfield. That means we turn our attention up to Merseyside and hand over to our commentary team of Matt Elliott and John Dunn.
Who wants to join me? Shopping at King Power. 3-day, 2-night stay booked. See ya.
To the rooftop bar.
To snap a photo for my IG.
To eat the famous pad thai.
The new collection is calling me.
Sure, there's a perfume I want. Let me ask my sis.
Yes, of course I'm going. Leicester City, Fox never quit.
Let's go. It's possible because King Power is more than just duty-free. Shop latest trends in beauty and gadgets. Your coolest staycation. The legendary pad thai, best street food in town. A place to support your team